I adjusted my deliberately understated dress in the mirror of the street Regis Hotel's bathroom, listening to Victoria's shrill laughter echo from the reception hall. My ex-husband David's new bride was regaling their wedding guests with yet another story about her financial prowess. And then, she giggled, champagne glass in hand. I found out she still uses the Anderson name. Can you believe it? As if keeping his name keeps the lifestyle. I reapplied my lipstick, remembering how David had insisted I attend their wedding for the children's sake. Our twins, Sophie and Alexander, now 25, had their own opinions about their father's new marriage, opinions they'd expressed by putting their trust funds into my management rather than his. Margaret. Victoria's voice carried across the ballroom as I emerged. We were just talking about you. Come sit with us. We're discussing the family business. I took my seat at the table, noting the designer labels surrounding me, Victoria's old money friends, all aware she was marrying into the Anderson banking fortune, or what they thought was the Anderson banking fortune. I was just telling everyone how excited I am to modernize the Anderson group. Victoria beamed, her new wedding ring catching alight. David's been so traditional with the investments, but with my financial background. From the lifestyle blog? I couldn't resist asking. Her smile tightened. From my years as a luxury brand influencer, and my father's connections, of course. She leaned forward conspiratorially. We're planning to restructure everything. Make it more current. How interesting. I sipped my champagne, thinking about the real Anderson Group quarterly meeting scheduled for Monday. Of course, she continued, we'll make sure your settlement payments continue. David insisted. Though really, Margaret, it's time you found your own path. Maybe start a little business. Several of her friends nodded sympathetically. They'd all heard about the poor ex-wife still living off her husband's success. Actually, I began, but was interrupted by a commotion at the main table. David was standing, tapping his glass for attention. Everyone, he announced, slightly flushed from champagne. I want to thank you all for coming to celebrate as Victoria joins the Anderson family, and to announce some exciting news. Victoria will be taking a leadership role in Anderson Group's strategic planning. The room applauded while I checked my phone, reading an urgent message from the Anderson Group's actual CEO. Emergency board meeting called for tomorrow. Unauthorized leadership announcements at wedding. Legal team standing by. Isn't it wonderful? Victoria gushed, returning to our table. Finally, someone with vision to grow the family wealth. No offense, Margaret, but the Anderson fortune needs a modern touch. The Anderson fortune, I repeated slowly, opening my banking app. Tell me more about your plans. Well, first we'll diversify the investment portfolio. David's been so conservative, just letting the old money sit there. With my influence network, I pressed a button on my phone, sending a pre-arranged signal. Across the table, Victoria's phone buzzed. She glanced down, then froze. There must be some mistake, she whispered, staring at her screen. My cards. They're being declined. Oh, I leaned forward. All of them. She frantically tapped her phone. The platinum cards, the black card, even the joint account David added me to. They're all frozen. I supplied. By order of the Anderson Group's majority shareholder. Victoria's head snapped up. But David is the majority. No, I corrected gently. David hasn't been the majority shareholder since our divorce. When he was too busy with his new assistant, Yu, to attend the shareholder meetings, he signed over voting control. To protect the children's inheritance, he said. The color drained from her face. But that would mean that your new husband owns exactly 3% of the Anderson Group. I smiled. The same husband who's been living off quarterly dividends I've been generous enough to maintain. That's impossible, she stammered. David runs the company. He makes all the decisions. David hasn't made a real business decision in 15 years, I replied, pulling up the Anderson Group's true organizational chart on my tablet. He's been a figurehead, showing up at parties, making speeches, playing the role of the successful banker while I actually built the empire. Her hands were shaking as she stared at the chart. These numbers. This can't be. The Anderson Group's current market cap, $47 billion. David's personal stake, worth about $12 million, most of which he borrowed against a funder lifestyle this past year. I stood up, smoothing my simple dress. By the way, about those renovation plans for the family estate, I'm afraid you'll need the owner's permission first. The owner, her voice trailed off as realization dawned. I kept the Anderson name, I confirmed, because I built the Anderson fortune. Every acquisition, every merger, every strategic decision for the past 2 decades, that was all me, while David was busy explaining banking to his assistant. My phone buzzed again. The board meeting confirmation for tomorrow, where Victoria's unauthorized position would be discussed and terminated. But we've already announced the honeymoon. The private island, the yacht. She looked panic-stricken. About that, I checked my watch. You might want to call the resort. Their merchant account with Anderson Financial Services seems to be experiencing technical difficulties. As I walked away, I heard her frantically dialing David's number, probably realizing that her traditional husband had sold his golden goose long before he promised her its eggs. The next morning, I sat in my real office, the entire top floor of Anderson Tower, watching Victoria's increasingly desperate attempts to access her frozen accounts scroll across my security feed. Beside me, my daughter Sophie reviewed the wedding's social media fallout. She's deleted all her future of Anderson banking posts, Sophie smirked. Those screenshots last forever. Want to see her live unboxing of the wedding gift Birkin that just got repossessed? Let's focus on business, I replied, though I couldn't help but smile. How's your brother handling the Singapore expansion? Alexander just closed the merger. He says to thank Dad for teaching him everything not to do in banking. Sophie pulled up the Asian market reports. Though he's curious why Victoria thought she could announce a strategic reorganization of his division. My phone lit up with another message from David. Please, we need to talk. Victoria's hysterical. The resort is demanding payment. Mrs. Anderson. My assistant entered with a stack of papers. The board is assembled for the emergency meeting. And Mr. Anderson, both of them, are in the lobby. Send them up. I turned to Sophie, ready to watch your father explain why he promised his new wife control of your inheritance. David and Victoria burst into the boardroom minutes later, their wedding glow replaced by panic. Victoria's designer outfit from yesterday was notably absent, replaced by something distinctly off the rack. Margaret, David started, this is ridiculous. You can't just. Actually, our corporate counsel interrupted. As majority shareholder and CEO, she can. Please, take a seat. Both of you. Victoria's eyes darted around the room, finally registering the reality of her situation. The board members, handpicked by me over the years, watched her with barely concealed amusement. Now, I began pulling up yesterday's wedding footage. Let's discuss your unauthorized announcements about Anderson Group leadership. Unauthorized? Victoria's voice cracked, but David said. David hasn't had authority to make executive appointments since 2010, Sophie interjected, enjoying her role as chief operating officer. When he chose his assistant's birthday party over the shareholder vote. I thought that meeting was just formalities. David protested. It was, I agreed. The formality of transferring control to someone who actually showed up to work. I switched screens to their recent expenses. Speaking of work, let's discuss your creative use of company resources. Victoria's face fell as her influencer campaigns appeared, all funded by Anderson Group subsidiary accounts. The private jet rentals, the luxury lifestyle posts, the competitor bank research that mysteriously appeared on your blog. I scrolled through the list. Interesting content strategy. Those were business expenses, she insisted. For the family image. The family image, Sophie repeated slowly, that you mocked Mom for clinging to yesterday. Victoria's lip trembled. I didn't know. David never said. David never knew, I corrected. He was too busy playing banker to notice who really ran the bank. My phone buzzed. Alexander joining from Singapore. Mom, should I tell them about the trust fund they tried to access for the honeymoon? Victoria's head snapped up. Tried to. The trust fund you claimed was easily accessible in your prenup? I smiled. It's been empty for years. David's been living on his quarterly stipend, which, given these revelations, might need reviewing. Stipend? Victoria turned to David. You said we had millions. We did. We do. He turned to me pleadingly. Margaret, be reasonable. I built this company too. Did you? I pulled up his attendance record for the past decade. Because according to this, You haven't attended a single budget meeting, acquisition review, or strategy session since 2009. I was busy with client relations. You were busy at long lunches, Sophie corrected, while Mom turned a regional bank into a global financial institution. Victoria stood suddenly. I want my lawyer. Excellent idea, I agreed. I'm sure they'll be interested in your insider trading posts about Anderson Group competitors, though those might be harder to monetize from a prison blog. The color drained from her face as she sank back into her chair. Now I continued, let's discuss your options, both of you. 6 months later, I reviewed the quarterly reports in my Singapore office, watching the sunrise over the financial district while Alexander presented the Asian market expansion. And the best part, he grinned, pointing to a particular growth chart, is that Victoria's luxury lifestyle followers are now seeing ads for our new digital banking platform. Turns out, her influence was worth something after all. My phone buzzed with a message from Sophie. Dad's quarterly review complete. He actually showed up this time, probably because his stipend depends on it. After the wedding debacle, David had been offered two choices: early retirement with no benefits, or a position managing our smallest local branch under Sophie's supervision. His new lifestyle had required some adjustments. Mom? Sophie's face appeared on my video screen. You'll never believe what Victoria is doing now. I opened the link she sent. There was Victoria, in a decidedly less luxurious setting, recording a financial reality check video series. Part of her settlement agreement included using her influencer platform to educate followers about banking regulations and investment fraud. Today's topic, Victoria's recorded voice, was notably humbler, is understanding who really controls your family's wealth, and why you should actually read the shareholder agreements. 3 million views already, Alexander noted. The SEC is thrilled with her new content direction. My phone lit up with another message, this time from David. The branch quarterly numbers are ready for review. And I'm sorry. For everything. For never seeing. Before I could respond, Sophie sent a video clip from his latest performance review. There he was, the man who spent years taking credit for my work, nervously presenting basic banking metrics to his daughter's executive team. And how did you miss these market opportunities? Sophie's voice was pure professional courtesy. I was focused on the wrong metrics, he admitted. Like Mom always tried to tell me. My assistant entered with the latest acquisition reports. Mrs. Anderson. The London office is asking about Victoria's educational series. They want to expand it to European markets. I smiled, remembering Victoria's wedding speech about modernizing our approach. Tell them to proceed. Sometimes the best lessons come from unexpected teachers. The screens filled with data from our worldwide operations, trillion-dollar transactions, revolutionary fintech innovations, and market dominance across 5 continents. All built while David played golf with clients and Victoria posted about luxury lifestyles. My phone buzzed one final time. The twins' investment team requesting approval for their latest venture fund. The same funds Victoria had planned to restructure for her influencer projects. Mrs. Anderson. My assistant reappeared. David is asking about the holiday bonus structure, and Victoria's lawyer sent over her latest compliance report. Tell David to discuss bonuses with his direct supervisor, I replied. I believe Sophie has some thoughts about branch performance metrics. After all, success isn't just about proving people wrong. Sometimes it's about letting them prove themselves wrong. And as I watched another sunrise over my empire, I thought about all the family fortunes being credited to the wrong family members, all the quiet builders being overshadowed by loud pretenders, all the real power hidden behind modest dresses and simple names. My phone lit up one final time, a message from Victoria. Today's video about understanding true wealth is trending. I finally get it now. Good, I typed back, because understanding wealth is step 1. Building is step 2. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't in the taking. It's in the teaching. Even if the lessons come with a corner office view and a very different kind of lifestyle than the one she'd so proudly flaunted at that wedding. After all, some fortunes can't be married into or influenced into existence. They have to be built, one underestimated decision at a time.